Approaching half distance in the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. Juan Montoya leads the Grand Prix by 3 seconds from Fernando Alonso, with Renault's Giancarlo Fisichella has jumped Jenson Button in the pit stops. Fisichella up to 3rd, Button down to 4th. I'm delighted to say that the BAR sporting director Gilles de Ferran, himself no mean racing driver, winner of the Indy 500 of course, now running the team, is joining us from the pit wall. Gilles, thanks very much for joining us. And Jenson losing out to Fisi there.
He went a little bit longer than we did, and it was able to put a few fast laps just before his pit stop, and unfortunately went by us.
Gio, hello, it's Martin here. What bothers me is I think Jenson, you got some damage limitations here. Jenson could be under pressure from Barrichello and Raikkonen. You might be struggling for 6th unless he can find a bit more pace.
Well, I think Martin, that's all we can do really, is go as fast as we can here and see how things play out to the end of the race.
Very good stuff. What happened to Takuma on the start line?
We're not so sure. The car is going into the pits here, and unfortunately we lost a whole lap. So all you can do is keep running and see where we end up.
What did you make of the decision at the start with the safety car? Obviously Takuma's car was being pushed out of the way. It was a safety car went out even after the car was pushed away, but I guess Charlie Whiting, the race director, had no alternative.
Yeah, I guess he had no alternative. Just got you know, it really didn't change much for us at all.
So what are you saying to Jenson then now?
Just keep cool, you know, and keep doing his job. He's doing a great job so far. He's running very consistently, and he's just got to keep working hard until the end of the race.
Well, the lap times certainly look very good, don't they, Gilles? He's lapping in the 1:22, but giving away perhaps half a second to the Renaults and the McLarens.
Yeah, the cars ahead a few tenths faster than what we are, and you know, that's our pace right now, and we got nothing to do apart from drive as fast as we can. But you know, Jenson is doing a very good job. His laps are very, very consistent, which is a good sign.
Do you think tyre wear could be a factor towards the end of the race, Gilles?
I think that can play a factor towards the end of the race. We'll see where everybody stacks up on the last 10 or 15 laps.
Thanks, Gilles.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Gilles de Ferran, sporting director of BAR Honda, for joining us from the pit wall. Always great to hear from the horse's mouth during the course of a Grand Prix. Jenson Button certainly pushing the car as hard as he can. Qualified it on the front row of the grid, now running in 4th place with Rubens Barrichello right behind him, and then Kimi Raikkonen closing down very quickly indeed on them, about a second a lap in 6th place. We're riding on board with Jacques Villeneuve, looking back from our 13th position to Christian Klien, who's had a few incidents here this afternoon, gone off the track a couple of times, been in the pits a little bit early to try and sort it out. Klien in 14th, and 15th is David Coulthard, ahead of 47 seconds ahead of Thiago Monteiro. We thought we'd lost both Jordans in this Grand Prix. Monteiro is in fact still running in 16th place, ahead of Christian Albers and Patrick Friesacker, the 2 Minardis. Takuma Sato is also still circulating, lapping in the same sort of pace as his teammate Button, but unfortunately for him he lost so much time with missing the start. He is dead last in 19th place.
Montoya's lead creeping up to 4.7 seconds now. He's certainly happier, isn't he, since he's filled it up with fuel. It's odd, as soon as Alonso got passed by Raikkonen, although he was effectively behind him with the pit stops, Alonso's pace has not been that strong. He's got to regroup somehow and just understand. But of course we also know Montoya made a wing change during his pit stop, so it seems like he's happier with the balance of the car too. Quite a reasonable breeze, again into the tail of the car, turning into Beckett's and Stowe, 2 critical areas where the car is really leaning on all of its aerodynamics and mechanical grip, and a tailwind takes some of that away.
Fisichella is, you know, on the quiet margin, doing a very, very good job here this afternoon. We've not seen a great deal of him, but he managed, as we said, to leapfrog Jenson Button in the first round of pit stops. He went longer on the fuel than many people did, and I wonder if he's going to go a little bit longer on the fuel. I think he is, you know, a couple of laps longer than teammate Alonso. He's only a couple of seconds behind him. Here we are on board with Giancarlo Fisichella, who's playing himself into contention to actually overtake his teammate for the second round of stops. If he can carry on this kind of pace, he's actually going quicker at the moment times than his teammate, as Barrichello pits again on lap 33.
Well, that'll take the pressure off Jenson, and with the Ferrari pitting so quickly again for its second stop, because he was just a few tenths of a second adrift of Button, so that takes away a major pressure. Jensen's big problem, though, is Kimi Räikkönen is homing in on him at over a second a lap now in the second of the McLarens. So Jensen is 8.8 adrift of Fisichella in third. He's in fourth, but Räikkönen is closing in.
Well, it looks like Barrichello's three-stopping here this afternoon, which doesn't appear to be really working for him, because that stop has dropped him back down now to 7th or 8th place. I think he got out around about Jarno Trulli. So Barrichello, who was in quite a promising position early on a different strategy from the others, he's stopped twice, everyone else has stopped once. And that's good news for Jensen Button, because that moves him back up into 4th place. Still holding on is Jensen Button, lapping as hard as he can. This is what it feels like then, out of the complex. Huge crowd on the left, they're blowing their air horns for him as he came onto the grid. Here is Takuma Sato in the 18th place, making a pit stop. But here's his teammate Jensen Button, 160 miles an hour then through Copse Corner. Just take us around a lap of Silverstone, Martin.
Well, you crossed the white line there. There's the delineation from the end of the pit lane into Beckett's. He just takes a breather off the throttle. You've got to clip the curbs all the way, and then it just seems to want to head off to Northampton and not turn in. Every car I've ever driven understeers through there. But no problem for Jensen as he diagonals the straight to down to Stowe Corner. You tend to take a very late apex. That means you touch the inside of the corner late on, a long way around it, and straight in the curbs, because you can over a little blind crest to Vale. Hook the wheels on the inside curb, leave the one on the right, otherwise it'll twist the back away and hurt your traction. And then he's so smooth in the way that he unwinds the steering wheel and applies the throttle pedal, and a heavy braking zone down, 4 gears. And again, the sawtooth curves do give you good grip. Bridge corner, let's see how it's handling. Oh, a little lift on the throttle in race conditions, the tyres beginning to go away. He couldn't stay absolutely flat through there, but nonetheless, almost. Now, the slightly frustrating part, the final long right-hander. We have to be so patient. And listen, he just squeezed the throttle on. He gets less traction control than anybody else as the grid hatchings flash underneath you and you start to pick up a reference point down to Copse Corner. There it is, a tiny little curb on the inside, a sliver on the outside you can just run along, but you cannot run wide onto. And one more time then into that incredible right-hander of Beckett's.
So 100,000 paying spectators lining the banks and the grandstands, 50,000 people in the corporate boxes. There is John Button enjoying watching his son's handiwork. The smile is no longer on his face. Jensen started on the front row of the grid. He slipped back to 4th. He's under a lot of pressure here this afternoon from particularly Kimi Räikkönen, but also Michael Schumacher as well. But Button is a fighter, and we are just 26 laps from the finish, but an awful lot more racing still to come here at Silverstone.
It's the first time for a while that Alonso has managed to close the gap down on Montoya. Maybe he's dumped a bit of fuel, burned up some fuel as Klein once again having a bit of an adventurous afternoon, still hustling along with Villeneuve, and they're just behind Heidfeld too in the second of the Williams as they skirt around the outside of the Minardi. This is a very close fight, but unfortunately for them it's 12th, 13th and 14th. Coulthard slipping quite a long way behind this now. I don't know if he has any kind of dramas, but his pace has slowed dramatically, significantly rather than dramatically actually.
Yeah, that's right. He's lapping in the 125.3 kind of region where the Williams are doing low 123, so it's a couple of seconds a lap that the Red Bull is giving away to the Williams, considering that he was racing him earlier on this afternoon. That seems quite a lot. But I think traffic has certainly had a part to play in that, because Heidfeld has not been lapping particularly quickly of late. Montoya then getting pegged a little bit by Alonso that time round. Almost a second he lost of his lead, presumably dealing with lap traffic. Yeah, there it is, you can see quite a few cars to pass now, so an important moment here for Juan Montoya to get through these guys as easily and as swiftly and without pain as possible. But they're all racing each other. There's Alonso at the top of your screen as they go down the hangar straight. He's got that Minardi to deal with as well. Montoya's not careful, he's going to encounter this crowd in the slow complex. He wants to try and get past as many of them as he possibly can before he gets to the complex. He gets past the Red Bull, but he's going to encounter Villeneuve and Heidfeld in the slow stuff. That's going to lose him time. Lap 37 of the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. James Allen and Martin Brundle with you. Juan Montoya is leading the Grand Prix, but Alonso took a second out of his lead on the last lap. It's because of traffic. Montoya encountered more traffic through the slow complex. That's the Red Bull you can see there of Klein, Villeneuve and Heidfeld. So he's lost time, more time to Alonso. It's another second that he's lost to the Renault, who will now encounter this traffic on the faster parts of the racetrack. So Montoya losing ground on the traffic, but Louise Goodman has found Christian Horner of Red Bull Racing.
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on David Coulthard's lap times. He's just starting to pick up the pace, but I mean, he's now 2 seconds a lap faster than he was a couple of laps ago. What's going on there, Christian?
Well, he lost a bit of time being lapped by Montoya and Alonso, but he's got quite a lot of fuel in the car compared with his teammate who'll be coming in very shortly. And, you know, he's sticking with it, and hopefully we can pick up a few more places towards the end of the race.
So bearing in mind the fuel he's got on board, is he delivering the lap times that you would expect?
Yeah, he's sticking with it at the moment. He's suffering with a little imbalance in the car, but he's doing a good job. As I say, he's got quite a bit more fuel in than his teammate at the moment, so hopefully it'll pan out at the last sector of the race. We've
seen his teammate Christian Klein running wide on a couple of occasions. I know you made a change to the car at the first stop. Is he still having problems with it?
Well, Christian, we went with an aggressive first sector because of obviously being compromised running first in qualifying, but again, he's out there, he's attacking. He's had a couple of moments, but that's mainly, I think, due to the fact he's been running pretty close behind Villeneuve. But again, he's sticking with it and hanging in there.
Thanks, Christian.
Christian Horner there, sporting director of Red Bull Racing. And he announced this week that David Coulthard has re-signed for 2006, so that's a great deal on both sides. Coulthard really helping to push that team forward, to give them the big team mentality that he brings with him from all those years at Williams and McLaren. And certainly Horner valuing what Coulthard has achieved. Albers making his pit stop, his second of the afternoon here. Certainly Coulthard has exceeded expectations in that car this year. 17 points on the board, some very strong performances indeed. Still no podium yet, but nevertheless a lot of solid points finishes in that car. Here is, we'll just have a quick look at Alonso. There is the race leader, Juan Montoya, who's responded on this last lap. Now he's got clear of some of the traffic. It's Alonso's turn to encounter Villeneuve, Klein and Heidfeld, and to lose some time as a result.
Jenson Button must now be able to see Kimi Räikkönen in his mirrors along Hangar Straight. He's just 3.5 seconds adrift. Ted has some news for us.
And I tell you what, Martin, they're very worried on the BIR pit wall. I just spoke to Jeff Willis. He says he thinks Jenson can run longer than Kimi at the next stop, but oh my dear, I mean, Kimi's closing on him at a second a lap, over a second a lap. He'll get up to him, but whether he'll be able to overtake him is another matter.
Thanks for that, Ted. Montoya's just done his fastest lap of the race, suggesting he's got a bit of speed in his pocket. He's pulled the gap out now to 4.8 seconds. They're beginning to drop Fisichella slightly in third place. Räikkönen beats that with another new fastest lap of the race. He's now just 2.4 seconds adrift of Jenson Button as Klein, who's on a 3-stopper this afternoon, takes his second scheduled one. So will Jensen have an answer for Kimi when he gets up close?
Well, Kimi certainly is absolutely flying there. You can see it for yourself. Jensen's trying as hard as he can, but this McLaren is supreme around here. The car works very well on the long, fast corners. It's extremely well balanced. Adrian Newey, the boss of the design team there, always very responsive to a rule change, and we've had a big rule change for 2005. He's come up with a super aerodynamic package that really, really works well around tracks like this, and Barcelona and Magny-Cours. It'll go well pretty much everywhere for the rest of the season, giving Raikkonen a chance to challenge, but he's got this 24-point deficit to Alonso. So much work still to do, and he could really do without Alonso running second on the road here. The only consolation for Raikkonen right now is that Montoya is in front of Alonso, taking 2 points out of him, stopping him from getting 10 more World Championship points. He'll really want his teammate to finish up there, but he wants to try and get on terms as well.
Well, Raikkonen, Button's just 9 seconds behind Fisichella, so Raikkonen's still got a chance of a podium. Depends how much, if at all, he loses time behind Jensen. He's now just 1.1 behind. Montoya pushing faster and faster. Alonso desperately trying to respond. The gap, 5.2 seconds now. And it's now a four-way fight for the podium, I believe. Jensen, though, not under any other pressures from behind. Michael Schumacher is 20 seconds adrift of him. Barrichello, who's been hustling in most of the afternoon on a three-stopper. And then Trulli and Ralf Schumacher having these steady races in the Toyota. So through traffic then, Jensen obviously nice and easily online there. Kimi getting free run into the corner. And now he's in that dirty air zone again.
Absolutely huge lap by Juan Montoya last time round. 1 minute 20.737. That's half a second faster than the fastest lap we'd seen up to that point in the whole Grand Prix, which was set previously by Giancarlo Fisichella when he was pushing hard. Montoya is pushing supremely hard. He's trying to break Alonso now. He's got 5 seconds over him. He is going absolutely, and another new fastest lap, 120.7 flat for Montoya. Stunning performance from the leader, still looking for his first Grand Prix victory of 2005. If you remember, he won on his last outing for Williams in the Brazilian Grand Prix at the end of last season. He's had a rotten season of bad luck, broken shoulder blades, tennis incidents, accidents, and you name it. But here at Silverstone, he is really stretching his legs. There he goes, and he's now got almost 6 seconds lead over Juan Montoya. Fernando Alonso, sorry.
We're homing in for the second stops then, and what he's trying to do now is make sure he's got a cushion if there's any kind of problem with the fuel rig going on or traffic into the pit lane. He just wants to build himself a bit of a margin, and this then is the fight for fourth place. Button versus Raikkonen.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll get a good scrap on the track, certainly in terms of pure pit strategy. Raikkonen has the edge. He should be able to leapfrog Button just by staying out a little bit longer than the BAR Honda. There's the scene in the Williams garage. They're doing a back-to-back test here this afternoon. Nick Heidfeld is using the old car, which is the car the team was using up to the French Grand Prix. In the French Grand Prix, you recall, Williams were very slow in the race, a real head-scratching weekend for them. So here, this weekend, they decided to put Webber in the new car and compare it with Heidfeld in the old car. And at the moment, you'd have to say that the new car is substantially faster. It's 18 seconds up the road from the old car. We're focusing now on the battle here for fourth place. Raikkonen and Button. Once again, we were talking before about the turbulent air. Raikkonen will start to encounter that now as he gets within 100 metres of the back of Button's car. Those tyres look pretty good on the Williams. It's the older model Williams of Nick Heidfeld, pitted from 12th place.
Yes, I'm afraid the Williams and the Red Bulls are going to have to rely on unreliability of others to score World Championship points today, it seems. Toyota seem to have the last point or two tied up at the moment. The two Ferraris, 6th and 7th, but not... I mean, if they go home from here, Ferrari, without solid pace, James, where are they going to be quick? They've dominated here, haven't they, so much. They've had such an impressive package. And, of course, you can say that almost any Grand Prix circuit we go to, but particularly here. And, well, they're really struggling, aren't they? They've not got a solid race pace. Michael Schumacher now on that last lap, 2.8 seconds behind the leaders in terms of pace.
And in terms of time, he's 45 seconds behind Juan Montoya. And we've still got 17 laps of this Grand Prix to go, so it's going to be a minute, isn't it, by the time we get to the end, which is roughly what it was in Magny-Cours last week. A lot of head scratching at Ferrari after that Ross Brawn, the technical director, was saying the drivers were pushing the car, but the car was not responding. It's not just the tyres. Certainly Silverstone has always been a very strong Bridgestone circuit. So Jenson Button makes a pit stop. That puts Kimi Räikkönen up into 4th place. He'll go longer on the fuel, and it's going to be very difficult for Jenson to resist him now. I think Räikkönen should be able to pit and rejoin in front of Button. That'll put him down to 5th place.
Just got it into 1st gear in time. Almost too chilled out on that pit stop there for Jenson. And as you say, surely Räikkönen's got the pace now to leapfrog him in this stage. You know what else I can see happening? I can see Fisichella getting ahead of Alonso. He's definitely faster now. And then that's going to give Renault a headache, isn't it, in terms of World Championship points for the championship leader.
Yep, he is faster, almost a second faster on that last lap, 3 seconds behind his teammate. Here is Fisichella playing himself into contention. He's been driving very strongly here this afternoon, maintaining the pace of the leaders. Qualified in 6th place on the grid, but he did carry a lot of fuel. He went to lap 25 on his fuel, where teammate Alonso pitted on lap 23. So a number of the cars around Fisichella on the grid were carrying less fuel than him. Into the pits comes race leader Juan Montoya. Well, we saw him really put the hammer down before this stop. There's Mark Webber as well in the new body Williams. Oh, that was close, wasn't it?
How close was that? That was too close indeed. And through goes Räikkönen then to effectively not take the lead of the Grand Prix, because Alonso's leading the race now, followed by Fisichella, but Räikkönen ahead of his teammate, but out of sync in terms of stops.
Yeah, Montoya has stopped twice. Alonso, Fisichella and Räikkönen have only stopped once, so Montoya drops in behind them. Alonso, Fisichella, Räikkönen, your top 3 at the moment. But Montoya looking very strong indeed here. He had 2.5 seconds in his pocket over Alonso before he made that stop. So we'll see what Alonso does on the fuel. At the moment he's being a little bit held up by his mate and former teammate Jarno Trulli, and losing valuable time here. So if he was going to challenge Montoya by running a little bit longer, this has compromised it.
Yeah, truly holding him up quite badly actually now. He's got his own race to run, but when the leaders come up to lap you, you have to get out of the way. And Alonso really getting scruffy and slightly ragged. We saw this, didn't we, at the Canadian Grand Prix when Alonso was impeded then by his teammate. His head just went slightly jelly-like at that moment. He's got to straighten it up, and truly should be getting look, he went way too deep in the corner, locked the front brake, ran wide, will pick up a bit of dirt on the tyres, it'll compromise him then, and finally Trulli gets out of the way, but the gap to his teammate down to 1.4 seconds.
Exactly. Fisichella has really taken advantage of that. You could see him closing in on Trulli as Kimi Räikkönen comes in for his second stop from 4th place. Ted Kravitz.
This is going to be close with Jenson Button, but I think the Button's actually been held up by some traffic, so Kimi should be able to take this one easily. Good stop by the McLaren boys, but where's Jenson?
Well, good question, Ted. Jenson is now just coming out of Woodcote corner, so Kimi's got the length of the pit straight over him, so that worked extremely effectively. Button, a combination of not quite having the pace of the McLaren and also encountering traffic, meant that Räikkönen, as we predicted, was able to leapfrog Button for that 4th place. Here for the 3rd time this afternoon into the pits, a strategy that has not worked at all for Rubens Barrichello. He started in front of his teammate Michael Schumacher. He now pits and drops further back behind Schumacher. Schumacher was 6th, Barrichello 7th before this stop.
Yes. Fisichella closed the gap down to 1.4 to his teammate, but he's so far 4/10 slower on this lap. Alonso's had to stand on the gas a little bit, otherwise he's in great danger of being passed by his teammate, because as then Fisichella pits earlier than Alonso this time around. He was 2 laps later last time. They short have filled him, and that's taken a little bit of the pressure off Alonso, no doubt about it.
Oh, he stilled it!
No! Fizzy, how does that happen? It happened last weekend. It should have an anti-stall mechanism on it. It should not be able to do that. And that's the 2nd successive weekend where it's compromised him heavily.
And that's going to put Räikkönen on the podium, is it? Räikkönen's coming down the main straight now. There's Fisichella. That's a very, very costly mistake for Giancarlo Fisichella. Oh dear, oh dear. All the hard work, all the graft of 45 laps, And the net result is that Raikkonen, who has already made, we saw his second stop of the afternoon, pinches third place away from Giancarlo Fisichella. Raikkonen then heading for the podium. Michael Schumacher makes his second stop of the afternoon. He should be able to rejoin in front of Rubens Barrichello. So Barrichello, who qualified in front of Michael Schumacher, Barrichello was 5th, Michael Schumacher was 9th. Barrichello's managed to get himself passed by Michael Schumacher by having the wrong strategy. That's what happens when you start in front but you've got the wrong strategy. Michael comes out in front.
Explains why Rubens looked so handy at the beginning of the race too, doesn't it? Quite a bit lighter. So Fisichella's heavily compromised there with that stalled situation. As I say, normally the system shouldn't allow that to happen, but for whatever reason, it's not happening on the sister car. And Alonso pumping in some hot laps now. He's 18.6 seconds ahead of Montoya, but he's got to make another stop. It'll be a very short stop. Surely Montoya's got enough to take his first victory for McLaren.
It would have been close if Alonso hadn't got held up behind Trulli, as we saw in the complex a couple of laps ago. His pace has been tremendous in this period. He's about a second a lap faster than Montoya, who's carrying more fuel. This is the period where you need to put the hammer down. He had the laps to do it, he had the pace to do it, but he got held up, and it's going to be quite close between the two of them. This is the scrap then, a little bit further down the field. Mark Webber in the BMW Williams in 11th place. David Coulthard is in 12th place, and well, Webber and Williams due to tell BMW what their engine plans are for next year, or whether or not they want BMW to be their engine supplier within the next couple of weeks. That situation quite fluid as Toyota Ralf Schumacher exits the pits. He was 6th before that stop. Certainly Cosworth and Toyota and Honda all options for Williams.
Coulthard's through. Coulthard passed Webber, but he's got to stop. He's made one stop, Webber's made 2. Coulthard with a lot of pace at this stage of the Grand Prix, but I still don't think they're going to score any World Championship points this afternoon. Alonso's lead up to 19 seconds over Montoya now.
Coulthard dives into the pits. This is how he did it.
Ooh, that looked a bit touch and go, didn't it? But a wall of death around the outside, and got away with it. But I think that in reality Webber knew that wasn't absolutely for position as DC makes his second and final stop.
From 12th place then, David Coulthard. Neat and tidy, very, very short stop. That gives you an indication of how short Alonso's stop is going to be when he makes it. That's all the fuel you need to get to the finish now, around 5 or 6 seconds. What is the margin now? 19 seconds Alonso has as Coulthard rejoins in front of Villeneuve. That's 12th place.
Yeah, Villeneuve then, we saw these two fighting earlier on in the Grand Prix. They have very similar speed. Villeneuve, you have to say, has driven very well this weekend and had good pace, good genuine pace. Alonso pits from the lead. He had a 19-second lead. It would have been about 19.4 given this first 2 seconds of this lap. And he's now got to have a short fill and get out of the pit lane. Surely Montoya's got enough of an advantage. That is a short fill. Look at that, 4.9 seconds. This is going to be nip and tuck.
Certainly is. Montoya crosses the start-finish line now. There he is on the right of your screen, but he's going to nip through, no problem at all. It's nothing like as close as it was first time round. And you could see that Alonso had the laps to do it, but he got held up by traffic, particularly Jarno Trulli, and that's cost him the chance of victory today. Mind you, if you'd asked Alonso earlier in the weekend what he thought his chances of beating the McLarens here were, he'd have said pretty slim. The fact that he's given it such a good run here this afternoon is a huge credit to him. It's been a wonderful scrap between the two of them. It's not over yet, though. 11 laps still to go. Alonso then drops in behind Montoya. Montoya leading on lap 50. Alonso second. Raikkonen looking for a podium in third. Fisichella fourth. Button is 5th, 10 seconds behind Giancarlo Fisichella, and then it's Michael Schumacher in 6th. Well, it's been a good scrap, hasn't it, at the front? It's been a good scrap as well in the midfield. You'd have to say the Red Bulls and the Williams have certainly given us plenty of entertainment, and that's not over yet either, and the Saubers in the mix too.
Yeah, it's been all the way through the field, hasn't it? But it would just be nice to see it a little bit more wheel to wheel with the aerodynamics. They've really got to sort that and sort it quickly for 2006, because we're seeing the drivers close in, then they just can't go anywhere, even more dramatically than we've seen in the past with that turbulent air zone. But yeah, they're still running pretty much nose to tail. They're Coulthard, Villeneuve, clean, just a second apart at the moment, and a little bit behind Heidfeld.
And this is a racetrack which is traditionally considered fairly good for overtaking. There is only a single line through the fast corners, but there are plenty of places if you're brave enough to have a go. There's Thiago Monteiro, still going strongly in 16th place. He's finished every single Grand Prix so far this season as Monteiro. That is some kind of record, especially for a rookie. So doing a good job is the Portuguese, who finished on the podium at Indianapolis, remember, in that strange 6-car race. Just 10 to go here at Silverstone. That's the top 8. Ralf Schumacher again, quietly, making his way through. Qualified behind teammate Jarno Trulli. Trulli 4th, Ralf Schumacher 8th on the grid. And yet, once again, in the Grand Prix, he's managed to come through and get in front of his Italian teammate.
I don't understand that with Jarno Trulli. Second row of the grid start slot. He's now down in 9th. Whatever setup he's using to give him a good one-lap speed is obviously too knife edge, not giving him any kind of race confidence to carry the speed all through the Grand Prix. And that's no good. You get the points on a Sunday afternoon, not Saturday.
Through to the finish then here at the British Grand Prix, just 9 laps to go. It's been battles all the way through the field all afternoon here. Juan Montoya off the start line, starting 3rd on the grid, managed to pass Jenson Button and Fernando Alonso dramatically into turn 1. We had a safety car though at the beginning for Takuma Sato, who stalled before the start of the Grand Prix, had to push his car away, and the safety car was deployed just for a lap. But once they resumed, once again, Montoya and Alonso had a tremendous struggle. Meanwhile, Michael Schumacher and Kimi Raikkonen were delayed behind Jarno Trulli. That really cost Raikkonen any chance of a victory here this afternoon. He is on target for a podium though.